Fall in love with 252 exclusive offers on the Citroën range at Hugo Luna Motors today. Explore our impressive collection of Citroën cars and vans, where advanced comfort, style, safety and reliability all come together. Order your 252 today and take advantage of low-rate finance, a €500 deposit contribution and avail of a free home charger. Book your test drive today at hugolunamotors.ie. Citroën. For everyone, like no one.
Citroën.
Good evening and welcome to Encore, your weekly arts and entertainment show on Midlands 103 with Zoe Ryan still manning the ship for Claire O'Brien. On tonight's show, our first show of the month of November, the attraction of one-act plays, seeing the terrible beauty in art, branching out into another art form, and an open call for artists based in the Hidden Heartlands to create works with a sustainable focus. Yes, Claire Ann, better known as AC Reynolds of Ballyfin Players amateur drama group, joins me to discuss their upcoming production at Mountmellick Community Arts Centre. Birr Theatre and Arts Centre's Nee-Haslam explains the theme of this year's Common Grounds exhibition, for which they are currently seeking submissions for. Musician and recently published author Keith Donald tells us about trying his hand at writing ahead of his performance at Dunamaise Arts Centre tomorrow evening as part of the Leaves Festival of Writing and Music. An organiser of Heartlands, Anna Atkinson, reveals the motivation behind the project and why there's a need for such an initiative. Now, she's been patiently waiting in the wings whilst I deliver my opening spiel. It is AC Reynolds of Ballyfin Players. AC, thank you for joining me in the studio this evening. Tell me about those one-act plays.
Hi Zoe. So the 3 one-acts are going to be in the Arts Centre Mountmellick next Friday and Saturday night. Mm-hmm. And we start off with the Black and Tans Raid in Cluntyglass, which is a local story that we actually went to Laois County Council with, and we looked for a grant and we got it written up, and it's a commissioned play by Eileen Casey, who's a playwright from Birr in County Offaly, which now lives in Dublin. So she wrote a play based on a story that's in the parish of Ballyfin that a lady had that she penned because she didn't want it forgotten, about a family in the Townsend of Cluntyglass who during 1921, during all the unrest and the Black and Tans roaming the countryside, actually came into the household looking for a dispatch note that their daughter had received that day in Mountmellick, and she was part of coming them on. Okay. So this has been in the works for over 18 months because we reformed as a drama group last year, and this is one of the stories brought up at their very first meeting, that how, you know, it was felt that this would be something that the parish would be of interest and also would draw a wider audience. So it's factual, but obviously our characters and the dialogue and all of that is I suppose, fictional to a sense, to add a bit of dramatic. There's a bit of dramatic license, I suppose, in there. And then that follows on. So that play is, say, around the 50-minute mark, and then that follows on. Then there'll be an interval, and then we have 2 one-act comedies just to lighten the night for the audience. And so our first one is a short comedy. It's only about 15 minutes, called The Hired Help. So again, we use the same set, so this rural kind of cottage set. And then the last play is The Yank Outsider by Brian Drum, and then that's a little bit longer again, about 50 minutes. And I think last year when we reformed, we did Awake in the West, and our audience really loved that, so they do like a bit of humour, so it was important for us to get it right in the night by giving a good mix.
I always find it interesting when you have those kind of short one acts that generally they're using the same set, or they're using very minimal sets in between, because obviously there's not much time to reset the scene and to bring in things. So I always think they have to be really resourceful in how they convey the story using this minimal set and props.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously the Cluntyglass play, the raid, the Black and Tan raids, that's 1921, and then we move on a couple of decades to The Hired Help, which is just kind of country, but, you know, pretty curtains, flowers, you know, pretty aprons. We're going to swap in a few bigger bits of furniture, but yet, you know, make it, you know, different, but kind of just cleverly done. And then there'll be, for our last play, then it's a bit more drab, country, funny. So we're just swapping in little things that the audience will hopefully reimagine each set. Even though it's the same walls, we'll say, and the same doors, the same windows, but just reimagine everybody's the different scenarios, different people's living rooms and kitchens.
And you're playing the role of co-producer on the night. Is that across the 3 plays, or are you only involved in one or some of them?
So I'm involved really with the opening play and the last one. The middle play, really, Grania Linden is the full producer there. But I suppose with Clunty-Glass, we just wanted to make sure we got it right, and that we portray the story, that it's emotive and everything to the audience, and we have children on stage, and there's violence obviously because it is a raid. So it was just really important to have another set of eyes, help. And so I think the both of us work very well together in that I see something, she sees something, and we can just take turns watching, talking about it. And just even for sourcing things, that's what we've been at the last few weeks, is sourcing the correct costumes, sourcing the correct props. And it really helps to have somebody with you, because it's a big undertaking to do anything by yourself. For the last play, then we're, I suppose, together in that, as in sourcing everything, helping each other with characters and what way they need to be. And it's good to have another person, I think, and it's worked well. And sometimes too many cooks spoil the broth, but not in this instance. And
you mentioned there that that's happening on Friday and Saturday night, November 14th and 15th. How are things looking at the moment? Is it in the final preparations of everything's coming together? Are they still things that you're going, let's just hope it goes well on the night? How's it looking?
So we're very lucky that for the last number of months we've been rehearsing in the old school in Ballyfin.
Okay.
And now we've moved into the Arts Centre to actually practice with the proper set.
Yes.
Because we had a makeshift kind of layout in the old school. And so, that's going well. And we're so lucky to have the Arts Centre Mountmellick, such a beautiful venue and so local to us. So everything is looking well. Our online ticket sales are going really well, and then we've left tickets in O'Gorman's shop in Mountmellick and the Dead Man's in Ballyfin as well. I just find with Ballyfin people, they're very good to support and to come out, and we have a good cast and a good mix, and I suppose even having the children on stage, that all helps for our audience numbers.
AC, thanks a million for giving me your time this evening to talk about it. And as you said there, if people are interested in coming along to see the plays, tickets are available on the willwego.com website. And you mentioned there's 2 local premises that they can actually get physical tickets into.
Yes, that's it. The Dead Man's in Ballyfin and O'Gorman's Mountmellick. And you have the website correct, willwego.com. Yeah.
Fantastic. AC, thank you so much for your time this evening.
No problem.
And on the topic of one acts, I went to see Dead Man's Bells during the summer, a short featured as part of Tullamore Amateur Dramatic Society's summer shorts, and it was absolutely incredible. As mentioned there, their use of minimal set and props was just superb, so clever. So I was delighted to see that it is touring at the moment, showing in venues in Kildare, Mayo, Cavan and Longford. So if you do get a chance, I'd highly recommend going along to see that. And for full details on those upcoming performances, such as dates and venues, etc., check out Tullamore Amateur Dramatic Society's website. Still to come, if you are an artist based in the Midlands, you might want to turn up your dial for this next bit. You are listening to Encore on Midlands 103, as always bringing you the best of what's happening in the arts and entertainment locally. And speaking of, a long-standing event in Offaly is back. Common Ground will be making its annual return to Birr Theatre and Arts Centre next month, and the lady who has been involved since its inception is Emma Nee-Haslam, who joins me now on the line. Emma, you have an open call out at the moment for Midlands-based artists to get involved with Common Ground. For anyone unfamiliar, what is it?
Hi Zoe, delighted to chat to you this evening about Common Ground. So it's like, when I realised it's running for the last 18 years, I'm like, oh yeah, we are. It's been going on a while. Yeah. Common Ground, I suppose it came about originally to provide an opportunity for artists living in the region, in the Midlands region, their common ground being that they live in the Midlands region, just to have an opportunity to exhibit and to have a group show. We were finding, I suppose, at that time when we established it, that we had lots of solo shows, lots happening, but then, and we had artists from all over the country, submitting, and we still do, but we just wanted to carve out a time and allocate time for local artists to get a chance to exhibit. And for a long time we probably didn't have a theme in the start when we started this, but now we do, and every year we have a new theme to challenge our local artists and get them thinking. So this year the theme is A Terrible Beauty.
Yes, I had seen that. Tell me the idea behind that, or I suppose it's open to interpretation, isn't it? But
it certainly is. Yeah, it certainly is. And I suppose it is about maybe challenging an artist, because you may not necessarily have. Here's one I prepared earlier, so it allows an artist to give some thought to the theme, and come up with new work. So, and that's kind of one of the key things, is that it's a new piece of work, answering the theme of the call. And I suppose in this one we're maybe asking the artist to, maybe hold both ends of the spectrum, just to create work that acknowledges just how beauty and pain even can coexist, finding beauty in decay or loss, or exploring how joy and sorrow are intertwined, and maybe showing how something can be both fragile and powerful. So that, there's a two thing happening in this particular theme.
And of course, as we said, there artists may have pieces pre-existing at home that do fall under the category, but the hope would be that they might be creating new pieces for this exhibition. And that's why, even though the deadline is December 1st, that's why we're chatting today, because it's to give people time, that if they're creating new bodies of work, to give them the time to do that.
Absolutely, the time to come up with the idea, and time for the paint to dry before it comes here as well. So, yeah, absolutely. And the artists are invited to submit 2 pieces, ready to hang pieces, on Monday and Tuesday, the 1st and 2nd of December. All media is considered, but we do encourage artists just to be mindful of the space we have, and even check in or have a look online, or call in and have a little look at the space, because sometimes something massive just won't be, particularly in a group show, huge large pieces wouldn't work, because it'll take up so much space. But we're very open to, we've had a variety of submissions over the years, from paintings, we've had embroidery, we've had craft, we've had sculptures, video, photography. So it's wide open.
Are there any mediums that maybe you rarely see that you'd love to see coming in this year in the submissions?
Oh gosh, we don't see a lot of sculpture, or three-dimensional work. So that would certainly be very welcome. Sometimes we've had a little bit, but that certainly would be welcome. But that's not to turn anybody else off. That's not their medium of work. So drawings, print, photography, we get a little bit, but not a lot. So it'd be good to have that mix. And a lot of the time, I suppose, by having a theme, it means then that the pieces, when the curator we have a curator coming in to select the work, and when she does that, at least there's a theme to work with, as opposed to a whole mix and match of what on earth, that doesn't work. And just to mention, our curator confirms now that Trish Taylor-Thompson of Nee-Haslam Arts Centre is going to come in and curate with us for that exhibition. So I'm really excited about that.
So Emma, in regards to criteria, there is a theme. So you want people to be submitting pieces that fall under that theme. It's open to artists who are based in the Midlands. And then with regards to an application fee, what's involved there?
So the artists are, as I say, they're going to drop it. We're asking them to submit 2 pieces to be a max of 2 pieces to be selected. The artist living in the Midlands or have an immediate Midlands connection is fine. It's not completely close to your address, and it's just €10 for a submission fee for up to 2 pieces. So, that's just to help us with, I suppose, our costs, but also it just makes it as accessible as possible then as well for artists to all artists to be included.
And the Commons Ground exhibition, that's going to be running between December through to January in Birr Theatre and Arts Centre. You're always flat out busy up in Birr with different events going on. But speaking of, you're coming from one busy period right into the next. You're just after finishing the annual Hullabaloo.
We have just finished our annual Hullabaloo, which was really wonderful. A really fun. It's going 19 years.
Wow.
Just a little bit older than Common Ground, and we must have been on the balls back 18 and 19 years ago.
Coming up with all these great ideas.
These initiatives, these great ideas. But this year we saw almost 100 events across the county in Birr, Clara, Edenderry, Tullamore and Kilcormac of workshops and performances for families. Things booked really, really well. There was great turnout to all the events. So, we've even somebody's mooted the words next year already. So we're starting to consider where we're at for next year's Hullabaloo. It'll be the 20th next year. So
oh wow, you're well ahead
really,
of
really exciting. And Hullabaloo, I suppose, it's the end of the festival calendar for the year in Birr. So we'll take a wee little break and then start getting ready for next year, when we kick off in May again with the Festival of Music, and then all of the other festivals continue on through. So it keeps us busy here for sure.
And were there any standout performances for you from this year's Hullabaloo?
We had a selection of work, and it's always very hard sometimes to, we might have great ideas at the start, or one idea, and then it ends up with the programme finally with availability and budget and everything what we have. But actually, this year was the first time that we had young people performing. Particularly in Birr, we had Tradabaloo, so members of the Kyotis group in Rath came into us and performed, which was really wonderful to see young people performing for young people, which was really, really lovely. And we had some puppet and puppet theatre performance, and then we closed off here in Birr. We closed off on Saturday with Living with a Fairy with Zoe Ryan, and it was just a really lovely little piece, really good.
Emma, if anybody's listening and they're thinking to themselves, Common Ground is something that I'd like to get involved in, I'd like to get working on a submission and into them, where can you find out more information about that? Well,
definitely. If they go onto our website on birrtheatre.com, and in the visual arts section, they'll get the call out. There's a call out document there with all the details and the terms for submitting work. Or even if they just drop us an email, info@birrtheatre.com, and we will send out the information to them.
Brilliant. Emma, thank you so much for your time this evening.
Great, so we good to talk to you.
Now, even though I did go to the press launch of the Zoo Lights up in Phoenix Park last night, which was pretty magical, I will say, I still feel like it's a bit too early to be discussing the next big holiday. I mean, we've only just had Halloween. I was sitting at this seat last week on the show and Halloween hadn't even happened yet. But I do suppose, in actuality, looking at the date at the bottom of the corner of the screen in front of me here, it is only merely a month away. So we really shouldn't be surprised that there is a crafters call out in place for the Christmas fair at Belvedere House and Gardens on Saturday, November 29th. So if you are interested in selling your handmade products at the event, you can apply online with Westmeath County Council Arts Office, and you will need to do that before 5 p.m. on November 11th. Up next, they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but what about an 80-year-old musician taking on a new craft?
The French know luxury. Discover the all-new 252 DS Automobiles range at Hugo Luna Motors. Experience pure driving pleasure with DS Automobiles, the French luxury car company. DS's premium range stands out through its charismatic style, interior refinement, sophisticated technology, and first-class comfort. Book your test drive today and discover the magic of DS Automobiles at hugolunamotors.ie.
It is Encore on this, dare I say, unprecedentedly humid November evening with Zoe Ryan. Now, as the traditional festival season draws to an end, we have one last festival to see us out. The Leaves Festival of Writing and Music got underway earlier this week on Tuesday with a Sightless Cinema Network event and will continue into the weekend with a variety of events across Laois, including writing workshops, conversations with authors and musical performances from the likes of my next guest. I'm joined now by musician Keith Donald, who will be performing alongside Don Baker at Dunamaise Arts Centre tomorrow evening as part of the festival. Keith, tell me a bit about the man behind the music.
Oh, well, I've been in music for an awful long time. I did my very first gig in 1955 at the age of 10. So if you do the maths to that, I'm now 80. So I've been gigging in public for 70 years.
Yes.
I've played in every genre of music: classical music, jazz, Irish traditional music, rock and roll, you name it, I've played it.
Right.
And very happily so. And I've had a long and interesting career.
And are there any genres, we'll say, that you kind of lean more towards or that you feel more at home in? You've mentioned that you have dabbled in a number of them, but are there some that kind of speak to you more so than others?
I suppose so. I grew up in a household in Belfast where my father had been a jazz musician in the 1930s and my mother had been a piano teacher. And I suppose I listened to a lot of classical music and certainly an awful lot of jazz growing up. And then I was performing jazz. I mean, my first gig that I mentioned there on BBC Radio was I was playing jazz at the age of 10. So I suppose that's my default genre, if you like.
And what can we expect from the performance tomorrow night then with Don Baker in the Dunamaise? What type of music can we expect there?
Okay, well, in the first half of the show, we're on at 9 o'clock tomorrow. In the first half of the show, I'll be performing on my own for a while. And I'll be kind of referencing the theme of the book I have out at the moment, which is called Music and Madness.
Yes.
And it's my life story. So I'll be referencing that. I'll be telling stories from my own career in music and everything that went with it. And I'll be inviting Don on to play with me. Then we'll take a short break. And then Don and I will play the second half up to 11 o'clock. And I'm really looking forward to it because Don and I haven't played in public for a while. We did an awful lot of gigs at the Cork Jazz Festival and other places and in theatres, and I haven't played with him for a good while, so I'm looking forward to it very much.
And why was it that you decided to put pen to paper? You mentioned there the new book, Music and Mayhem. Why have you decided to tell your story and put it in a book? Yeah,
two reasons. The first one is I wanted to see if I could write. And I just wanted to try out that kind of writing muscle, if you like, which I'd been trying out for a while, but I'd never got around to looking for a publisher. And the other reason is I have a story which starts with abuse, then goes into being addicted to alcohol, and then comes into sobriety, which started 34 years ago. And my story is, I hope, some kind of solace and maybe a little bit of inspiration for people who want to get sober or who are affected by their loved ones not being sober. So, I've had a heck of a life, including multiple accidents, not of my own making, and all kinds of things that happened to me that I didn't ask for. And if I can explain to people and show people that it's possible to get through this kind of stuff and come out the other side, then that's a good message to tell people.
Because sometimes that is what people need, isn't it? It's that a lot of the time with situations like this, people are suffering in silence, that they feel like they can't talk to other people about it and that people won't understand. But by just letting them know that someone else has been through it and that they do understand, that can be a massive relief to someone.
I think so. I think you're absolutely right. And I have to mention this as well. I have a huge connection with Portlaoise in that in 1973 I was in an accident, a bandwagon accident, at a place called The Heath, just outside Portlaoise. Maybe you know it. And I spent, I'm not sure whether it was 5 or 6 weeks in the regional hospital in Portlaoise under the wonderful care of a surgeon called Charlie McCormick. Lovely man who saved my life twice while I was in hospital.
Right.
And became a friend subsequently.
So you're no stranger to the region.
True for you. And I always have an affection for Portlaoise because of that connection and that wonderful man that I encountered in the hospital. It was the book and the PR around the book that I suppose made Deleuze people aware of me as a writer. And the invite came, and I was very happy to accept it. I'll play anywhere. I'll perform the show and play music anywhere I'm asked. It's what I do, and it's what I hope to continue to do for a while.
Keith, you've had a very varied musical career. You've now gone into writing the book. Maybe this isn't the first of your books that we will see, but what do you think is next for you? What's the next project going to be?
Well, it's interesting because the book has brought me all kinds of places that I wouldn't have expected to be. I've done bookstores and festivals all over the island since the book was published in April. I'd like to continue that, and I'd certainly like to continue doing my one-man show, which is a huge challenge for me. I mean, can you imagine on stage on your own for between 40 and 60 minutes?
Yeah, it's a long set.
At the age of 80.
Yes.
So it's a huge challenge for me, but I do like a challenge, and it's one of the things that keeps me going is that challenge.
Keith, thank you so much for giving me your time this evening, and best of luck with tomorrow night's performance. If people are interested in popping along to see that, I take it that they go on to Dunamaise and they can get tickets and all the information they need there.
That's right. Thanks, Zoe. Take care.
And on the topic of literary events, there is a book launch taking place in Mullingar Arts Centre this coming Tuesday, November 11th. The book of the hour is titled Cabbage Street, Memories of a Lifetime in Mullingar, which is essentially a compilation of illustrations and photographs to accompany the recollections of well-known local man, now passed, Jimmy Mulderry, from his time living on Patrick Street, all of which has been beautifully put together by Tony Lines. So that's Tuesday night in Mullingar Arts Centre from 7:30pm. After this, another call out for submissions from artists in the Midlands. Midlands 103. Can you believe we're into the final segment of tonight's Encore on Midlands 103 with myself, Zoe Ryan? I'm still laughing to myself about that Grinch ad. It's the first time I've actually heard it, and it's an absolute classic. Well done to Roy and Tilly for putting that one together. Now, earlier tonight we heard from Nee-Haslam of Birr Theatre and Arts Centre about their open call to Midlands-based or connected artists for their Common Grounds exhibition. But Anna Atkinson, Organiser of Heartlands, is casting a net that is a bit wider. They are looking for artists located in the Hidden Heartlands area, which of course some parts of the Midlands is included in, particularly those who have incorporated eco-conscious awareness and sustainable art practices into their work, to apply to exhibit and sell their works at Heartlands later this month. Anna, tell me all about the upcoming event.
We're really excited. It's our second exhibition under that branding, Heartlands Art Exhibitions. And we ran the first one in May of this year. We were invited to host an art exhibition for Wallfest Longford, which was organised by Longford Writers Group. And so we did it as a pilot to see how it would go and how it was received. And it was really successful. And people loved participating, so we said, right, okay, well, so let's carry on and let's, build on this and see if we could produce a calendar of exhibitions during the year and maybe tour them, which is what we intend to do throughout the region, and include artists from the Heartlands and not just from Longford. So that's kind of what we're doing and what we're trying to develop at the moment.
So where did the idea for the piece come from? So it's really appropriately called Heartlands, and you've got the art in that word highlighted in capital letters to really emphasise that that's it. So tell me the concept for Heartlands, where it came from.
Well, we're part of the Hidden Heartlands Ireland region. So, and the whole idea that the Heartlands is a place where you're in the heart of the country. where there are many artists and many writers and many creative people living. And I just liked the idea of it, or we liked the idea of that fact. We were also harking back to a project that I was involved in many years ago, where we were looking at the power of love to create transformative change in communities, and the power, connecting that to creativity as well, and the power of creativity for well-being and creating change. And I suppose bringing all of those little pieces together, we just decided to use that. Then it just fit, you know.
And you've decided for it to be, as you said, this is the second instalment of it. You've ran it before, you found it did well. You've decided for it not to be your bog standard, basic. Usually when we see this, it's an exhibition only. There's actually going to be a sale of the artworks as well as the exhibition.
Yeah, it's an exhibition and sale of work. So what our hope is to have the exhibition and sale of work, and then to move around the Heartlands region, hosting exhibitions in the various counties within that region, and touring the work of the artists from one county to another. So that's what we're looking at developing, but we're just in our infant stage, if you like.
And during the pilot exhibition, what type of artworks did you get? Was it solely paintings mounted on a wall, or were there different types of visual arts, different mediums of art involved?
So we invited people work in all mediums. So on the day for the pilot one, there were 3 separate exhibitions happening, and so there was photography was also submitted, but that was the way it was held for the festival. So there were 3 different exhibitions that time. So people submitted all kinds of work, but for the Heartlands one specifically, we were trying to encourage people who are eco-conscious and have eco-awareness, and who were using sustainable art practices, and have maybe use foraging or use natural materials or found materials, found objects and that kind of thing in their work as well. So we had a broad submission of work. So there were people working in encaustic, there were people who submitted embroidery, mounted, fabulous textile works. Yeah. We had people working, they had knitted pieces submitted. There were some sculptural pieces were submitted as well, created from a type of plastic that can be reused and moulded into sculptural pieces. We had all kinds of work, actually. One lady, she makes felt pieces, so her main piece was a felted image or felted picture, but then she had felted jewellery as well that she brought in, and she had embroidery on upcycled doilies and upcycled linen pieces that she'd bought in second-hand shops, and so there was a broad variety of work was submitted. Yeah.
And submissions are open for the second instalment now. So that one's going to be running from November 21st to December 19th. What type of works are you looking for submissions this time round?
So we've done the same thing. We've said we're happy to accept work in all kinds of mediums, but we're particularly eager to welcome work where people are having awareness around the materials that they're using, so eco-art or eco-natural materials in the work, or like anything that's taking into consideration what the materials they're using, and environmental consciousness and all of that. But it's not just that work, so we're eager to just showcase all of the work from creative people, artists in the Heartlands region, really.
And the Heartlands region, which kind of areas is it that covers?
Well, you're talking Longford, Westmeath, Roscommon, Leitrim, Cavan, Clare, East Galway, or West Tipperary and North Cork, actually. So it's quite a bigger... It's actually... I didn't realise it was as big a region as it actually is. So, yeah. So artists from all of those areas are very welcome to submit work to us.
For anybody who's listening who's thinking, yeah, I'd like to get involved with this, I do have a piece that I'd like to get submitted in. Talk to me about the submission process, especially for, as you said, if it's people who have visual mediums. Is it a case they send them in, or is it a written pitch? Is that what the submission is?
No, so we have an email, so just send us an email at heartlandsartexhibitions@gmail.com, and we will send a condition of submission form out to people, and then they will submit the work via pictures of their work via email, so that we know what they're submitting.
Yes.
And the space is Edgeworth Town Library, and that's where the exhibition will be held. So it's a beautiful space, but we will we'll only be able to take a certain amount of work for the size of the space, So people will send in images of their work, and then we will do our best to ensure that there's as many people as possible, the work from as many artists as possible can be included.
And as I mentioned there, it's going to be an exhibition of the work, but also an opportunity for artists to sell their work. Is it a case that if any artworks are sold, is it that the payment's going to go back to the artists themselves, or are you running this for a cause? Where is it that the funds are going to go?
The artists sell the work. The work is sold for the artists themselves. Mm-hmm. It's not for a charity or anything like that.
Fantastic, brilliant. So tell me, Anna, if anybody, as I said, they are interested in knowing more about this, they're looking to get submissions in, where can they find more information about that?
You can go to, we have a Facebook page, so you can go to Heartlands Art Exhibitions on Facebook, and then our email is heartlandsartexhibitions@gmail.com. Everybody's welcome to submit work, and we'd be delighted to receive it. And we will be having a launch on the Wednesday prior to the beginning of the exhibition.
Fantastic.
So we'll be able to send invitations out to that launch when we have our speaker confirmed. And we'd hope to see as many people there as possible over the few weeks. If they can't make it at the launch, then certainly over the 4 weeks. So, yeah.
Brilliant, Anna. Thank you so much for speaking with me today. It's great to see pieces like this or events like this being carried out, because as we know, a lot of the time it's hard for artists to get exhibition spaces to actually display their works in, and as well to have the opportunity to sell them. It's hard for people to go out on their own bat to get an exhibition space, to actually set themselves up to be able to sell their work. So it's great that maybe if you're not quite as established, or if maybe you don't have a setup in place like that where you can easily do it yourself, it's nice that they have the opportunity to come along and display their work in this way and be able to, as you say, sell their work at it too.
Yeah, that's it. That's perfectly said. I couldn't have said it any better myself. And I think one of the things that we found was great in the pilot exhibition was we created a space for artists and their families to come in and see their work up on the walls and sit down and have a cup of tea and coffee and have a chat. So it was like a salon,
Yeah.
And it was just a really lovely space that people enjoyed. And I'm not saying this because we created, but it was the energy of it, of the people coming in and that interaction between the artists and the community, looking and just having a space to chit chat about it, and read a book and look at some art books and that kind of thing. And you're right, having a space, it's very difficult to find a space to exhibit your work, and So that you said it beautifully. I can't say it any better myself.
Well, something that I found from presenting this show over the past number of months is that people who have creative minds, they're just so fascinating to speak with and to have a conversation with, as you said. So it's nice that there's an opportunity when you come along to an event like this that the artist themselves is there, because a lot of the time when we're going to these spaces where art is exhibited, it's a case of that they're running for maybe a number of weeks or a period of time. The artist isn't there themselves, you're just following it along, and that can be a nice experience as well. But there is something to be said about actually meeting the person, the mind behind the work. So it's a nice space that you've created there where people have the opportunity to chat to the artist. But as I said, it's not a barrier for people, because I do believe that there's an awful lot of barriers for artists to be able to do the work that they do. And one of those barriers is not having the proper resources or funding behind them to be able to display their work themselves. So it's great that they can avail of this facility that you have created.
Yeah, I think we're both artists, so there's three of us involved. So there's myself and my husband and then a friend of ours, Shelley, as well. And like, we're always looking to see how we can put our work out there, you know, where are we going to put it, how are we going to ensure people see it. And like, Phil he's a professional airbrush artist, so he would be quite well known. Shelley would be very well known for her photography. I'm somebody that is not as well known for my artwork. So, you know, I really like the idea of, and we trialled this out in the first one, was having professional artists along with emerging artists, along with people who are simply passionate about creating art at home, and putting all those people together. So it just makes for a really nice, just really good connections are created there, and there isn't a barrier between the person who's the professional artist and the person who is at home in their box room painting away and trying to make it and trying to get work out there, you know. So we're really very much about providing that kind of a space for people where all those connections can be made.
And tell me about your own art. You said there that your husband does airbrushing, Shelley's a photographer. What about you? What is your art form?
So I create mixed media art. I do some encaustic work as well. I like to use upcycled or recycled materials in my work, or found materials as well. But this is something I came back to my own creative practice after many years of, well, I shouldn't say I came back to it. I've always been creative at home, but I'm putting it out there now into a space, and that was part of the reasoning as well of, okay, how can I get my work out into the world now that I've decided to take that jump and put it out there, you know? So that was part of the reason, I suppose, for coming up with the exhibition ideas as well. But that's what I do. It's mixed media artwork and encaustic as well.
And should we expect to see any of your pieces displayed at the upcoming exhibition?
I should hope to have one piece at least anyway, yes.
Lovely. Anna, thank you so much for giving me your time this evening to talk about it. And as I said, if anybody listening is interested, submissions are currently opening and they are closed on November 9th. So if you're interested, do try and get your submissions in before then. Anna, thank you again.
Thanks a million. Thanks so much for talking to me.
Now, as I said there, the deadline for submissions for that one is looming near. November 9th is the date to get your applications in. So do email heartlandsartexhibitions@gmail.com. That's heartlandsartexhibitions@gmail.com with your interest as soon as possible. After which you'll be asked to fill in a form and submit images of the works you want to be considered for the exhibition and sale, as was said there. That's all from me tonight, but I have some really exciting guests lined up for you next week, including writer Dennis McArdle on The Light Within, a Laois Films short based on the Quaker community, and a singer that you may or may not be familiar with her work. Michaela Chloe will be providing us with some musical entertainment in the wake of supporting Lyra on her current tour. Now, I don't want to give away too much soon. There is a popular Netflix show that if you watch it, you may be familiar with Michaela's music. But the reason why I said that you may not be familiar with is she's doing all of this whilst continuing her studies in school. That is right. That is something that I will be asking her about next week. I want to know how she manages to do all these amazing things, supporting the likes of Lyra as well as continuing on her studies. So that is something to watch out for next week. She'll be here doing an interview with us and providing us with some live music. I actually caught her last week at the Lyra show and I was just taken back by it and could not believe when I reached out to her afterwards that she's still in school. So do tune into that one next week. It is sure to be a really good one. I'll also be engaging in a bit of Encore on Tour again, which has become a little bit of a feature on the show as of late. Tomorrow night I'm going to be popping along to check out how rehearsals are going for Tullamore Amateur Dramatic Society, otherwise known as CHAD's, upcoming production of Rabbit Hole. That is going to be taking place in Esker Arts from Tuesday 18th of November right through until Friday November 21st, and it's showing every night at 8 p.m. So I'm looking forward to checking out the behind the scenes of that and seeing how it's all going. I know from my time in amateur dramatics, sometimes in the weeks ahead of it, it's absolutely falling apart. It's nowhere near done, and somehow you pull it all together last minute. So I'm interested to see where they're at with it, and that piece will be featuring on next week's show. So up next, you have the best in Irish and American country music on country roads, followed by the ever popular Twilight Time. And I thought I'd end tonight's show on a song inspired by one of my favourite displays at last night's Zoo Lights, the one that stood out to me most, the underwater tunnel. Now I do want it on record that I did have a different song in mind. I wanted to play Billie Eilish's Ocean Eyes, but I, being me, could not find it in the system. And I know, well, it's in the music library. It has to be because it is a popular radio song, but alas, I could not find it in the system. So I have a different ocean-related song for you that is a bit of a guilty pleasure of mine. Don't know why I'm admitting it to you. Here is DNCE with Cake by the Ocean. Until next week, good night.